It is said that releasing a Godzilla can accumulate merits. I think it's not wrong to release a Godzilla. Although Godzilla is a bit larger, it is also very cute and loves nature. When Subai said this, she was very serious. The female journalist's hand trembled slightly and said, "That. What is in your hand now?" I saw a sharp monster under Subai's crotch, and at this moment he was still reaching out to stroke it. Oh, this is an alien. I'm about to release a cute creature. I love nature so much, animal protection organizations must appreciate me. Female journalist. Animal protection organization. Alright, you must enjoy life when you return to nature. Subai waved to the alien monster. Everyone. Don't come over, Keywords of the novel. Release life to accumulate merit. Why don't I play Godzilla without pop-ups? Release life to accumulate merit. Why don't I play Godzilla count as TXT complete collection download? Release life to accumulate merit. Why don't I play Godzilla count as latest chapter reading? Chapter 1. Good. Let's start by releasing mineral water, right? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Good. Let's start by releasing mineral water, right? Recently, some people have released a large number of crocodiles, sparrows, and eels in the Jinsha River, seriously disrupting the ecological balance. Scientific release is necessary to avoid ecological problems. There have been many related incidents before, such as the release of invasive species such as pearl turtles and lucky snails in Deh Lake. This is not just accumulating virtue and doing good. Subai was lying on the bed in the dormitory, scrolling through short videos, and her phone was filled with news about releasing animals and damaging the ecological environment. Harm, this forest is so big that there are all kinds of birds. If it goes to hell, the king of hell will call you Big Brother. Do you still accumulate virtue and do good deeds? Dream. Looking at this news, he did not know where to start roast. But anyone who has a little more brain won't release invasive species. Is this hoping for a world of harmony? Subai shook her head, let out a long sigh, turned off her phone screen, and lay in bed pondering. There's not much difference between crossing and not crossing. He wasn't originally from this world, and for some reason, he suddenly came to this world while playing computer games. Fate is full of misfortune, isn't it really fair? Other travelers have a golden finger no matter what they say, welcoming by Fume and reaching the pinnacle of life. I am still a hard-working college student. Originally, in the previous world, there were no relatives, and crossing through this parallel world was not much different from the previous one. When I first arrived in this world, I was still thinking about showcasing my skills and making the world shake with his appearance. Unexpectedly, after conducting an investigation, it was discovered that this world was not much different from before, and the leaders in various industries were at most someone they didn't know. These days are even more difficult than before. No matter how much he said before, he already had a car and a house, but this time he traveled and came to this world. Not only did he have nothing, but he was also studying. No, what about the benefits of this traveler? Shouldn't they all be stung? Subai muttered to herself. Ding! At the moment when this voice appeared, Subai was on the brink of death and sat up in shock. Is this the sound of the system? Just now he could clearly feel that this voice was coming from within his mind. The system has been successfully bound and activated. Goo. Subai's Adam's apple rolled up and down, and it actually came. I don't know if it's a cultivation system. Or the licking dog gold system. Forget it, I won't even pick. He can already imagine the good days he will be living in the future. He has to embrace each other and reach the pinnacle of his life. Thinking of this, Subai quickly thought to herself, what system? You have activated the release merit system. What? If it weren't for the sound coming from his mind, he would have thought he had heard it wrong. Releasing merit system. What kind of dog system is this? For a moment, he felt that his mind couldn't turn. Kind reminder, when the merit value reaches 10 million, you can become a saint in your physical body and obtain eternal life. Actually, I think this system is also quite good. Although I don't know what this is for, it's about becoming a saint in the flesh. It won't be a problem to punch Nan Shan Ultraman or kick Bei Hai Iron Man. System, tell me how to accumulate merits. Even if he were to immediately go to the temple now, he wouldn't hesitate at all. What kind of man can refuse to become a saint with his physical body? These two younger brothers are not bad like Kong Kong. Post-beginner tasks. To contribute to the greening of nature and contribute to the beauty of the world, please host a live broadcast to release a mineral water, task requirement. The popularity in the live broadcast room should reach at least 1,000. After completing the task, the next step of the task will be unlocked. At this moment, Subai transformed into a subway-looking elderly person emoji. What are you doing? Others are all foolish. He has heard of releasing venomous snakes, releasing carp to the sea, and a series of strange things, but it is still the first time he has heard of releasing mineral water. Are you sure this is not just for fun? And, this also accumulates merits, isn't it a mental retardation? Thousands flashed through her mind, but in the end, Subai honestly put on her shoes. He doesn't want to, but he has no choice at all. It's not easy to activate the system, no matter how you say it, you have to give it a try. Subai, what are you doing? It's just a heartbreak, don't die in our building. As soon as Subai walked out of the door, she heard a voice coming from behind. Looking back, wasn't it the chubby Wang's son who was playing games in her dormitory? Although his speech was a bit lackluster, he also knew that Wang's son, who had taken over the physical memory of this world, was a good person. When the original owner of this body was searching for life and death, he was always with him. Oh, don't worry, I won't be so dismissive. Subai waved his hand and spoke with a bold and imposing voice. Wang's son leaned his chair back and asked with a puzzled expression, "Are you going?" Since you have posted with sincerity, I still have great compassion to tell you that in order to prevent the world from being destroyed and to protect world peace, I will go out and accumulate merit. After saying these words, Subai walked out without looking back. Wang's son was stunned and could only watch Subai leave with shocked eyes. Forget it, as long as you don't die, you should be able to recover. He shook his head and refocused his gaze on the computer screen. After getting off the dormitory building, Subai walked straight into the convenience store, bought a box of mineral water, and rode a small yellow car straight to the beach. As its name suggests, Binhai University is not far from the seaside, only 6 or 7 kilometers away. In less than 20 minutes, I arrived at the beach in a yellow car. At this moment it was noon, and the dazzling sunlight scattered on the rippling ocean, making Subai squint her eyes. After casually putting the mineral water on the beach, Subai took out her phone. Let's create a live streaming room first. Subai muttered to herself and clicked on the short video app. Nowadays, live streaming is rampant, and there are almost dozens of live streaming platforms alone. And the most popular one among them is the live broadcast in Douyin short videos. After considering the need to reach 1,000 popularity, Subai did not hesitate to choose Douyin Live. Creating a live streaming room is not a problem at all, it just requires binding an ID card. The name of the live broadcast room. It's called Return to Nature, Release Natural Mineral Water. After everything was ready, Subai took a deep breath and secretly hoped to cheer herself up before pressing the start button for the live broadcast. Just as I opened the live broadcast, someone was attracted by the title and clicked into the live room. Watching the audience enter, before Subai could tidy up her smile, she saw the comments popping up. Anchor, have you lost your mind? I thought LVBoo was already invincible in the world, but surprisingly, there are people who are even braver than him. I thought I was going to show me a big one, but as soon as I came in, I realized I was going to pull a big one for me. Looking at these comments, Su-bai's smile stiffened and she was blocked for a moment, unable to speak. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Releasing Buffalo. Why don't you just let me go? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Releasing Buffalo. Why don't you just let me go? Kind reminder, the host must obtain 1000 heat to complete the task and activate the next task. The sound that popped out of my mind pulled Su-bai back to reality. But it's easy to put it simply, it's not as easy to do. If you don't interact and release mineral water in a daze, even if you pour it out, there won't be 1000 degrees of heat. Harmful, since we pursue excitement, let's stick to it to the end. Su-bai sorted out her mood and looked at the live broadcast room with a smile on her face. Hello everyone, today I am going to live stream the release of mineral water. I believe everyone is also puzzled why I did it, but what I did made sense. You can think about the significance of what I did. Accompanied by Su-bai's slightly solemn expression, the originally cheerful netizens fell silent at this moment. Everyone is seriously contemplating the significance of Su-bai's words. In the past moment, someone in the comments section attempted to post a comment. I'm thinking that the anchor's action is to tell us that the ocean is the source of life, and water ultimately returns to the ocean. No, this is a mockery of those damn capitalists' unwillingness to give milk to the lower class even if they pour it out. You are still too naive. This has a deeper meaning, which is that water will come out even if it enters our stomachs. It's better to pour it directly into the sea. As Su-bai started this topic, everyone began to ponder the meaning of this action. This is actually not their fault, because Su-bai's expression is too stiff now, even making them start to reflect. After waiting for a moment, Su-bai continued, No, you're all wrong. As soon as these words were spoken, netizens couldn't help but be taken aback, quietly waiting for Su-bai to continue speaking. Su-bai suddenly raised her tone and said, that is, everything has life, and fish, birds, and animals are just a part of it. But have you ever considered the feeling of mineral water? Don't they want to return to nature? What? Thanks to my serious thinking about the meaning just now, Anchor, you're on a talk show. Everything has life, you speak one thing at a time. You're going to take the postgraduate entrance exam. I was wrong. I should have just started cursing directly. Where did this come from? I am the attending physician at Green Mountain Mental Hospital. Please come over by yourself after the broadcast. Not to mention, this anchor is quite interesting. The netizens in the comments section were all amused by Su-bai's serious appearance. Who could have imagined that Su-bai would say such words, which caught them off guard? Su-bai picked up the mineral water from the ground and walked to the seaside. Let go. Merit is immeasurable. May these mineral waters be reincarnated and become human again after passing away. Speaking, he directly poured the entire bottle of mineral water in his hand into the sea. The transparent mineral water stirred up splashes on the sea surface. After seeing this move, netizens who were still joking immediately moved to Bungbu. Anchor, you're really here. Didn't you just talk about talk shows? Something's wrong with you. Who knows how to pour mineral water into the sea? Sleeping in a trough, the world is vast and full of wonders. Someone really releases mineral water here. The anchor's brain is really malfunctioning. Hurry up and send him to our mental hospital. I thought it was a fake mental illness, Jane. Are you serious? Netizens were all stunned and their eyes were wide open. It's quite common to release mineral water these days, but how could anyone release it? Congratulations to the host for completing their first release and extracting skills. You have obtained divine level acting skills. The sound that came to mind filled Su-bai's face with question marks. At this moment, knowledge about acting flooded into his mind like a tide. After learning about the role of this skill, Su-bai was overjoyed. In fact, at the beginning of the live broadcast, he had already noticed his shortcomings. That is, when being watched by everyone, there is no way to express oneself fluently, and the expression and demeanor are particularly stiff. But after obtaining divine-level acting skills, all of this is no longer a problem. The memories I just instilled are all skills at the level of an actor. Just as netizens were still confused, they suddenly saw Su-bai, who had originally turned her head away from them. But when they saw Su-bai's expression, their minds became even more buzzing. Because at this moment, Su-bai's eyes were filled with tears and she looked extremely painful. What's wrong with the anchor? Suddenly crying like this. Isn't it someone who spoke too much? When my third aunt's cousin's sister's dog died, I didn't cry so hard. Upstairs, you're going too far. The anchor is crying like this and still playing jokes. Anchor, what's wrong with you? Are you encountering some difficulties? Although we all met by chance, few people continue to roast after watching Su-bai cry. But at this moment, Su-bai suddenly wiped away the tears sliding down her cheeks and spoke with a trembling voice. I am not shedding tears of pain, but crying with joy. Mineral water also has life. For the sake of nature, return to nature. The water molecules can finally embrace nature. Isn't it, a joyful event? Su-bai has a vivid expression and a natural voice. Just like a loving mother in tears. Audience. Alright. So, why don't you give me this for half a day? But it's interesting, keep an eye on it. This is not a talk show host at all, it's a professional student from an acting school, right? You're playing with me, right? I just watched the anchor's appearance and couldn't help but wonder if he's suffering from a terminal illness. It's still water molecules returning to nature, Sun Thief, you're quite good at playing. The anchor's acting skills are good, here's a rocket for you. In an instant, the live broadcast room was filled with excitement. With more and more gifts, the popularity of mineral water release live streaming rooms has also risen. This attracted more people to the live broadcast room. From the initial 4 to 5 or 10 people, it quickly rose to over 1,000 people. Through this realistic acting skills, Su-bai's fan base quickly rose to 500, and even more than 1,000 followers. Woo-woo, I finally put all the mineral water back into nature. You don't need to thank me for this, it's what I should do. After pouring the last bottle of mineral water, Su-bai wiped away her tears and trembled as she spoke. Ding, host has completed the beginner task and rewards top-level animal communication skills. The next stage task has been activated, release the latest task, please release a bison as the host. Su-bai, who was crying like rain just now, was stunned at this moment. What? Do you want to see what you're talking about? Releasing bison. Is this releasing me to the west? End of this chapter. Chapter 3 Harvest of Wandering Dog Little Brother 1. Is Mad Cow coming? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Harvest of Wandering Dog Little Brother 1. Is Mad Cow coming? No, where am I going to get a bison? And, even if it can be found, is it using life and the buffalo solo? Let's not talk about whether I can defeat the bison for now, how can I bring them to release them? System, are you playing with me? At this moment, Su-bai's heart collapsed, and this task was not something that a normal person could do. He can't possibly go to the zoo and then release the animals, wouldn't Uncle really lock him up like a hat? Just as he was full of thoughts, the clinking of the gift suddenly reminded him that it was still live streaming. Ladies and gentlemen, we have done a good deed every day and accumulated a lot of merits. Please continue to pay attention to the anchor. The anchor will continue to release from time to time. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye. After Su-bai finished speaking, he immediately turned off the live broadcast. Yo ha, I also received a lot of gifts this time. After turning off the live broadcast, Su-bai finally noticed the gift she received this time. The most valuable one is a rocket, which costs 150 yuan after being split 50 or 50 with the platform. Adding other miscellaneous gifts, this is almost 200 yuan. No wonder so many people enjoy live streaming. This day is close to 200, and a month is no more than 6,000. If there are 300 days in a month, my goodness, the monthly salary cannot exceed 60,000. Su-bai thought about the mess while happily withdrawing the money. Although there are parents in this world who provide him with education, his monthly living expenses are only about 800 yuan. This can all be considered a windfall. I made so much money today, I have to give myself a meal anyway. Let's start with 10 xiaolongbao. With this in mind, Su-bai placed the remaining mineral water bottles next to the trash can and walked towards the nearby commercial street. However, how to use the top-level animal communication skill rewarded by the system? Shouldn't it be learning to call animals? If we learn how to crow like a rooster, will we be able to communicate with pigeons? Just as he was pondering, Yu Guang noticed a sausage dog with dirty fur next to the nearby trash can. This dachshund dog is constantly arching its nose around the garbage dump, as if looking for something to eat. This family belongs to the dog family, they eat a bone that's even cleaner than me. Why don't they swallow the bone? No, this human is not very particular. How could this stinky thing be packed in such a small bag? Pretending to be so strict and solid, I thought it was something delicious, but it turned out to be fruit peels. Su-bai suddenly noticed that the whimpering of the sausage dog had been transformed into language and appeared in his mind. No way. Is this really useful? He was shocked. With this skill, one day he would starve to death and could switch careers to become a pet translator. However, compared to this, Su-bai wants to know if this is a unilateral communication. Woo! Woo! Su-bai imitated the dog and shouted twice, still thinking about the dog over there. After he shouted these 2 times, the dachshund, who was originally searching for garbage, raised its head alertly. Who? The dachshund first set its gaze on Su-bai, then quickly moved away. As a dog, it still has some brain to some extent. At this moment, Su-bai spoke again, Woo. Me. Can you actually speak? The dachshund was surprised. Over the years, he has seen many humans learn to bark like dogs, but surprisingly, there are still people who can express themselves correctly. Isn't it usually something like riding a toilet and sprinting on a donut? Are you calling me? The dachshund looked up at Su-bai. Although it was a bit shocking, it was also slightly stunned. Compared to this, finding food is more important. Su-bai touched her stubble and her eyes lit up, saying, Wow, wow. Are you my little brother? Don't do it. My scar, how can I bow down to humans? The dachshund turned its head directly. Su-bai didn't say anything more. She stood up straight and looked around, then noticed a convenience store. She immediately had a plan and walked over. In no time, Su-bai returned to the dachshund dog. Humans, I've told you about my scar. As the dachshund was about to show off his authority, his eyes suddenly noticed the hot dog in Su-bai's hand. Su-bai approached the hot dog in front of the sausage dog and said, Wow. Be my little brother. Ilyo, great big brother. Under the attraction of the hot dog, the sausage dog surrendered without hesitation. It seems that I have successfully recaptured a stray dog little brother. Su-bai looked at the sausage dog eating and whispered. He did it not only because he looked pitiful at this stray dog, but also because he wanted to facilitate communication with other dogs in the future. It's impossible to learn dog barking everywhere in the future, this sausage dog is his best translator. Just as he was about to get up, he suddenly heard a voice coming from not far behind. Looking back, he saw a man and a woman standing not far away. The girl was dressed in a white dress, with fair skin, and her long black shawl hair looked ethereal, just like the white moonlight of her student days. Shishue, isn't this the one who confessed to you before? Isn't this foolish? How did you communicate with stray dogs? The boy looked at Subai and couldn't help but sneer. Quan Shishue was stunned. She didn't expect to run into Subai here, and Subai was actually chatting with the dog, barking and barking. Subai, we're not together, but you wouldn't be willing to fall into the trap of playing with dogs, would you? Quan Shishue hesitated and said. But even a serious person wouldn't communicate with a dog on the street, and it seems like they're still chatting quite enthusiastically. Subai. Seeing this woman, Subai suddenly felt memories surging in her heart. My predecessor confessed to this woman, but was rejected. Then, I felt extremely sad, and finally stayed up late and died suddenly. It was only then that I crossed over. I didn't expect to encounter Quan Shishue in this place. Wang. Big brother, I'll help you bite him. The dachshund also noticed that Subai's expression was not quite right, and immediately protected Subai. Wang. No way. I can't go. Subai didn't care about anything else and quickly learned to bark like a dog to stop it. If this really bites these two people, let's not say whether or not to lose money. What's certain is that I must have finished playing. No, this shouldn't be a case of excitement, mental illness or rabies, right? Shishue, let's either stay away from him. The man couldn't help but take 2 steps back when he saw Subai still learning to bark. This. Quan Shishue hesitated a bit. Moo. Just as the two were thinking, a cow's cry suddenly came from not far behind. Subai followed the sound and saw a fat and strong black mad cow rushing out at the corner of the alley. Behind the mad cow were 2 police officers chasing after them. After seeing a few people, they exclaimed in shock, "Get out of the way." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Do you still live stream in this situation? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Do you still live stream in this situation? Looking at the crazy cow rushing forward like a truck, Subai couldn't help but be taken aback. She fixed her gaze and said, "Wow, isn't this a bison?" He had watched a documentary about bison before, and once this thing collided with a person, it would either die or be damaged. How did this thing actually appear here? Reminder. The live broadcast target has been found and the task has been automatically activated. Do good deeds and accumulate virtue, release bison and return to nature, requirement. Live streaming popularity must reach 3,000. Watching the wild cow running towards them, Subai's scalp tingled. At this distance, not to mention live streaming, it's probably good to be able to take out your phone. But at this moment, Subai was very keen to notice that the bison, after overturning the garbage bin on the street, suddenly rushed towards the nearest Quan Shishue. Lie down. The boy saw that the bison was charging towards them, and he suddenly pulled out his leg and ran. Beauty is very important, but no matter how important it is not as important as his life. Just that cow horn, hitting him can directly make him feel cold. At this point, his running speed is almost on par with Bolt. Quan Shishue was stunned when she saw the boy running away. Did you just run away like this? How dare you not protect me? When this boy was pursuing her, he made a firm promise that no matter what happened, he would be willing to fight for her. But at such times, it's okay to run, but I didn't actually run with her. Moo. The deafening roar of the cow brought Quan Shishue back to her senses. I saw the bison, which looked like a mobile armored vehicle, charging straight towards her. At this moment, she wanted to run, but felt her legs soften and she watched as death approached. Ah! Quan Shishue looked at the buffalo in terror and couldn't help but scream. After hearing the screams from Quan Shishue behind him, the boy who was desperately running did not slow down his pace and ran faster. But just as he was running, he suddenly heard a tearing sound. After hearing this sound, his face suddenly changed, and he didn't have to think about it. It must have been due to intense exercise causing the crotch of his pants to crack. Mad, isn't that a promise of top-notch imitation? How could the quality be so poor? Although his pants cracked, he still didn't slow down his pace. After all, life is more important than face. What he didn't notice was that his dazzling red underwear was flickering in the sight of the bison. Moo. A red light flashed in the buffalo's eyes. Suddenly changing his direction, he chased after the boy. The running boy heard the sound of his hooves running behind him and instinctively turned back to look. Sleeping slot. At the moment he saw the wild cow charging towards him, his face turned pale and he let out a mournful cry. Damn it! What are you chasing me for? Isn't there another two people? Although there were other people in those two positions just now, they were chasing him. He can't possibly take out the urgent syrup from his pocket. Su-bai slowly cast a question mark. But soon he understood why the bison was chasing the boy and not letting him go. In fact, cows are all color-blind animals, and the reason they chase boys is because cows treat moving or floating objects as provocations. If that boy didn't run just now, it would have been them who were hit. Just as he was stunned, he suddenly noticed that the boy in the distance was running back in their direction. Help me. I'm dying, I'm dying. It's not that he doesn't want to continue running, but that no matter how fast he runs, he's not as fast as a bison. At the critical moment of being hit, he pounced on the side and, after shaking off the bison, ran back in a continuous stream. Wong wong. Big brother, I can't win this either. Watching the bison gallop over, the dachshund dog, who had just vowed to protect Su-bai, turned around and ran away. Su-bai turned her head and glanced at the police not far away. Although they were all holding guns, they were unable to shoot at all. Shooting at this time can easily cause accidental injury to people. It seems that we can only grit our teeth. Su-bai took out her phone, quickly clicked twice, and took a step in front of her. Moo. Why are you here? Su-bai shouted at the buffalo, which was only 50 or 60 meters away from him. This is a bison, it will never appear in this place for no reason. And basically, there are no wild cows kept in zoos. After all, this thing is actually fierce. In fact, he is not sure now. Anyway, it's just a wild ox. Under normal circumstances, even a tiger would have to avoid this thing, let alone the other person who is currently in a crazy state. Moo. I woke up here. Just escaped. The bison kept responding to Su-bai's footsteps. Originally, it was still in the endless wilderness, but as soon as it woke up, it arrived at this place. After finally running out, it found that there were many cars and horses around it, and if it weren't afraid, it would go to hell. Moo moo. Come over here, I'll take you away. As she was about to collide with a boy, Su-bai quickly spoke up and let out a few moos. If we continue to keep the bison here, it will either accidentally injure others or be shot dead by the police. The only way is to leave with the bison. The bison also noticed Su-bai and turned its direction and rushed towards her. Watching the bison turn around and charge towards her, Quan Shishue, who had just hid in the nearby alley, suddenly picked it up. Su-bai, what are you doing? Come over here. It's very dangerous there. But at this moment, Su-bai felt as if she had been scared out of her wits, frozen in place and motionless. Damn it. That student seems to be scared out of his wits. The police officer with a pistol turned unusually ugly. Another police officer gritted his teeth and shook his head slightly, saying, "No, this position cannot be killed in one shot. If you shoot indiscriminately, it will even anger the bison." Although they said they were wearing handguns, they were still small caliber weapons. There is no way to shoot a bison with just one shot without hitting the crucial point. And they are also well aware that once there is no one shot to death, the one waiting for Su-bai will inevitably be a more insane attack. Between the lightning and flint, everyone seemed to see Su-bai being pushed up by a bison. This volume of bison collides with people as if it were a piece of rag. The hearts of everyone in the room were as if they were being held tightly by someone. Run quickly! Quan Shishue shouted in a hoarse voice. At this moment, Su-bai suddenly raised her phone and smiled brightly at the camera, saying, "Hello everyone, gentlemen. I'm back again." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Enter a state of emergency. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Enter a state of emergency. Boy. Police. Quan Shishue. This is too explosive. No one expected that at this critical moment, Su-bai would directly pull out her phone to live stream. This is crazy, isn't it? Quan Shishue couldn't help but exclaim in surprise as she watched the scene. Are you going to risk your life for this prank? It's so dangerous. Even though the bison are about to rush over, they are still working on program effects at this time. I'm thinking money is crazy. Being bumped by this bison will leave you both alive and disabled. The netizens who had just clicked into the live broadcast room saw Su-bai slowly turning around, and the scene behind him also appeared in everyone's sight. Not far behind Su-bai was a galloping bison. Anchor, you're really here. What kind of situation is this? It's really about releasing bison. No, even this bison needs to be released by the anchor. Run away quickly. Bad luck, just click in and you'll have to watch the live broadcast of death. Although they also noticed the headline, Release Buffalo, on the live broadcast room when they clicked in. But no one expected that Su-bai would come for real. And it's just been airing for a while. Where did you find this bison? Hello everyone, this time we are going to release bison. Releasing is to change luck, releasing is to treat illness. Before he could finish speaking, everyone saw that the bison had already arrived behind Su-bai. As it was about to collide with Su-bai, the bison lowered its head and, after avoiding the sharp horns, flew Su-bai up directly. Sleeping slot. Su-bai only had a chance to lie down and was directly hit on the back of the bison. And in this moment of lightning and flint, Su-bai instinctively grabbed the sharp horn of the bison with her left hand. And in the next second, the bison rode away from the dust, swiftly leading Su-bai towards the distance. Audience. Quan Shishue. Police. What the hell is this? If they were not mistaken earlier, Su-bai actually transformed into a buffalo knight directly. Who? I haven't finished speaking just now, anyway. Releasing life can do good deeds, accumulate virtue, and change our future. On the bumpy back of the cow, Su-bai still gritted her snow-white teeth and spoke her lines intermittently to the audience. Audiences. It's already some time, it's still live streaming. You're really a capitalist's heart. Anchor, hurry up and find a way to get down. You're really tired of living, right? Be careful, if you're thrown down by a bison, you'll really suffer from old troubles. Whoever tells me that internet celebrities' live broadcasts are all online begging, I'm in a hurry with them. This is risking my life to make money. Even though it was a critical moment of 10,000 lives, Su-bai was still grinning, which made them all have to marvel at Su-bai's big heart. At such times, if it were someone else, they would probably be scared to cry and call out their mother. After all, it's not uncommon to ride horses, but where would anyone go riding a bison? Isn't this the old longevity star Arsenic, living impatiently? No, we still need to change to a good live streaming equipment in the future, which is too inconvenient. At this time, Su-bai, who was holding on to the horn of a cow, still had a roast about the inconvenience of holding a mobile phone to broadcast live. The reason why he wasn't too nervous was also because he was able to communicate with Bison. Moreover, if you want to tender him to death, you won't intentionally avoid the cow's horns and push him onto its back. After sorting out her emotions, Su-bai looked at the camera with a smile on her face. As is well known, humans occupy the living space of wild animals and are even constantly being stolen. In order to make the world a better place and accumulate merits, I will live stream the release of Bison. Brothers, use your little hands to make a fortune, follow them little by little, and the anchor is online seeking rewards. Watching Subai still bumping on the back of the cow, netizens were shocked by these words. The current anchor is really a monster, I can't even say he's brave. It's not even deadly. I'm not envious of the anchor making money. Just this, I feel like he deserves it. Is this really outrageous? I'm afraid I'll be able to survive. Forget it, I'll give you a reward, after all, this is the anchor risking his life to create program effects for us. As he spoke, the sound effects of giving gifts kept ringing in the live broadcast room. Brothers, don't forget a little red heart. After all, releasing Bison is a great virtue, and everyone has a share in it. Looking at the constantly popping gift effects, Subai became even more enthusiastic. If it weren't for this bison running too fast, he would have wished he could do a backflip for the audience on its back. I really thank you, oh, you haven't forgotten to give us some credit at this time. You're all going to die, don't withhold our merits. I'm grateful to heaven. The anchor is really building a house by the seaside. The waves have reached home. Stop broadcasting and find a way to get down now. Oh my goodness, the speed of this bison is also too fast. How long can the anchor last? To put it bluntly, netizens still don't want to see anything unexpected happen to Subai. Leaving aside everything else, the current speed of the bison is at least 50 kilometers per hour, which makes them tremble with fear just by looking at it. And they also know that this is different from riding a horse. Riding a horse also has reins and saddles, but Subai has no measures on her now. Once exhausted or accidentally let go, those waiting for Subai cannot imagine. No, this bison's speed is really too fast. Although I know it wants to return to nature, I can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. For safety reasons, let's let the bison slow down a bit. Subai, who was tightly holding onto the cow's horn, felt a slight weakness in her left hand, but she still watched the camera explain. Audience. They were all dumbfounded by that sentence just now. Why do they want to return to nature? This is clearly going crazy, okay. And how can this make the bison stop? Is it difficult to talk to the bison? Do you really think it's an automatic transmission car? If you want it to be slow, then slow it down. And, what time is it? We're still working on program effects. This makes them wonder where to start roast. But at that moment, they suddenly noticed that Subai, holding a phone, was rubbing her feet against her. Immediately after, they saw Subai leaning towards the cow's neck and saying, "Moo. Brother Nyo, slow down." Audience. Ah. At this moment, their three views exploded. Is it certain that they were not joking around? Can this moo make the bison stop? How can this kind of thing be? And an incredible scene suddenly happened, the speed of the bison actually slowed down. Ah. Netizens were filled with question marks for a moment. Within the police station, a heroic female police officer dressed in police uniform is handling her official duties with a solemn expression. At that moment, the phone on the side rang, but as soon as she answered the call, her face became unusually solemn. Ah. What? Where did the bison come from? Did someone get kicked away by a bison? Quickly contact the armed forces and mobilize the helicopter. Enter a state of emergency. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Can bison also spin and jump? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Can bison also spin and jump? As police officers, we must ensure the safety of the people. After Jiang Lin finished speaking, she hung up the phone with a bang and pushed open the office door with a bang. Shaoli, you should immediately notify the other sub-bureaus. There has been a major incident and ask them to cooperate with our actions. Uncle Fu, now you immediately have the snipers organized to rush to the Riverside Road as soon as possible. Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3 should immediately prepare their equipment and rush to set up defenses along the Yangtze River Road. For Hohai, a fourth-tier city, this is already a very serious case. And this time it concerns the property safety of the people, and it is necessary to ensure that no accidents occur. After the order was issued, all the police officers in Hohai City quickly joined their posts. After completing the task, Jiang Lin quickly walked to the command room and had the surveillance cameras along the way be pulled out. After all, this is a Bison and there is no way to predict the direction of the other person's progress. How's it going? Jiang Lin stood in front of the big screen, frowning and asking. Deputy Bureau, based on feedback, this is the current picture of the direction of the Bison's advance. After tapping the keyboard, the staff quickly retrieved the current monitoring screen. But when the surveillance footage popped out of the screen, everyone in the command room was stunned. I saw Su Bai riding a Bison on the road, rampaging aimlessly. Although it was extremely bumpy, she was still holding her phone in her right hand and happily talking to the camera. And because they happened to pass through a surveillance area below, they could also vaguely hear the voice of Su Bai speaking. Brothers, remember to move your little hands and give me a red heart. That look looked like riding a horse live streaming, without any nervous emotions appearing on Su Bai's face. Police officers in the command center. Jiang Lin's mouth twitched imperceptibly, then turned to look at the person next to her and asked, I didn't seem to hear clearly earlier. What was that person doing just now? The Deputy Bureau. He seems to be broadcasting live, the person spoke with a lack of confidence. Even he felt like he had misheard. In this urgent situation, surprisingly, there is still someone live streaming. Isn't this just a joke? At this moment, Jiang Lin also understood that she had never heard anything wrong, and her originally urgent mood somehow relaxed a lot. Everyone cheer up, although this citizen's brain may not be very good, he is also the object of our police protection, and we must not let him have an accident. After regaining her composure, Jiang Lin took a deep breath and picked up the walkie-talkie beside her, saying, report the current situation to all departments. The first and second groups have already blocked some areas with high pedestrian traffic. Has the sniper from the Special Forces arrived at the target location? Report, sir, we have arrived at the target area and the situation on site is complex. We are currently aiming. The walkie-talkie quickly transmitted the situation at the scene. Snipers stand by first, no one is allowed to shoot without my permission. After speaking, Jiang Lin finally put down the walkie-talkie. The road on site was complex, and without 100% confidence, it was very likely to cause accidental injuries. At this point, in the live broadcast room. I just entered the live broadcast room. What's the situation now? Is this host from an acrobatic troupe? It's just crazy criticism. I've seen many amazing people before. This is the first time I've seen such crazy criticism. Did I enter the wrong live broadcast room? Is this a project sponsored by Bull Sports Beverage? Why is it so exciting? This live broadcast can even catch up with Odibio's banana luck. No, it's even better than transporting bananas. As more and more people give tips, the popularity in the live broadcast room is gradually increasing. And due to being too stimulating, the success rate of retaining the audience is close to 90%. Who can resist this kind of scene of a bull racing? And, this is using life to release it. New viewers, you don't have to worry. Although the speed is still fast now, it can ensure stability. Besides, Nyonyo is not a bad cow. It also knows that I want to take it back to nature, so it won't throw me out. After getting used to the bumps, Su Bai sat up slightly straight and raised her phone, explaining confidently. Although, in the eyes of a group of netizens, these words seem like nonsense. Today was really a small knife pulling my buttocks, opening my eyes. There are still people who are so free. Is this a magic days? How could anyone feel like they can communicate with a bison? The one upstairs just came in. Don't you dare say that the anchor was just learning to bark like a cow. That's like calling a cow. No way, is there really such an outrageous person? Isn't this really just a show effect? But when they saw the replay video, it was like a hermit crab moving. The clan couldn't live anymore. I really saw the scene of Su Bai and the buffalo communicating, which made their minds go crazy. What? This is not a program effect. The mood of releasing animals can be felt by Nyo Nyo. If you don't believe it, then give me a reward and let me go. I'll just let go of my hands and show you how to ride the double dragon head ox. Audience. Ah. They didn't expect that Su Bai really wanted money instead of life. At such times, letting go of both hands and throwing it out without causing a hemiplegia can be considered as the smoke coming from Su Bai's ancestral tomb. Okay, I really believe his nonsense. It's the first time I've heard that releasing animals can make them feel their thoughts. No, which psychiatric hospital released it from? Hurry up and catch it back. It's absolutely amazing. It's starting to talk nonsense, isn't it? You don't understand, only those of us who are both free-spirited can understand his thoughts. I'll give him a reward first. Upon hearing the tinkling sound of gifts, Su Bai's heart bloomed with joy. This trip will earn at least 1,800 yuan. Without hesitation, he released the horn and raised his hands high. Sleeping slot, lying slot, I really let go of this. What kind of new world bull man is this? Oh my goodness, this hasn't really been thrown out yet. Okay, I'll start releasing mineral water tomorrow. Are you joking? Is this something that a normal person can do? I suspect that the anchor was Chao Guijie in his previous life, otherwise how could he be so criticized? With Su Bai's move, the audience in the live broadcast couldn't help but praise her repeatedly. I don't even worry much about Su Bai's safety anymore. The police officers who were watching the surveillance were all numb. You stay here and report the direction of the bison's advance at any time. I'm rushing to the scene now. Jiang Lin looked at the picture above and couldn't bear it anymore. After giving the order, she immediately rushed towards the direction of Su Bai's advance. Just as Su Bai was chatting happily with netizens, the sound of a bison suddenly came from beneath her. Moo, how am I going to get out? And when I tried to break out again, I also bumped into a fellow of yours. When it woke up, it found many cow corpses lying around, and even the cow's body was being cut. Under duress, he went crazy and knocked over a person, rushing out. Su Bai looked at the surrounding route and hesitated for a moment before saying, Moo moo. Keep going straight ahead and run in the direction of my fingers. At this point, the audience has been numbed by the continuous shock. Anchor, why are you mooing? Do you really think you can communicate with cows? I can't roast anymore. There are so many slots on the anchor. I haven't seen anything outrageous before, but this is really a little cow ringing the doorbell. Is this world crazy or am I crazy? The anchor seems to be really communicating with cows. Although Su Bai had already performed once just now, everyone thought it was the program effect. But this time it's really not right, and the bison even responds to him. Under the green light all the way, Jiang Lin also arrived at the scene at this moment. How is the situation now? Jiang Lin asked eagerly as she got off the car. Deputy Bureau, according to our prediction, the bison is expected to arrive at its current position in a minute. The nearby police quickly spoke up and reported the current situation. This location is open and currently the public is standing upright, making it the best location for sniping. After observing the street, Jiang Lin nodded secretly. Thinking of this, she immediately took out the walkie-talkie and gave the order. Snipers, be careful. Once the opponent enters Shunlong Street, they can shoot. Be sure to hit the heart of the bison and die with one blow. After receiving instructions, several snipers immediately began aiming from different positions. At this moment, Su Bai, who was running forward, felt a bright light shining in her eyes. Upon closer inspection, she suddenly noticed the sniper at the distant intersection. Judging from the aiming positions of these snipers, they should be ready to shoot at any time. Damn it! Su Bai ignored the effect of the live broadcast and immediately bent down to tightly embrace the bison. Moo! 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 Don't run straight, turn and run. And try to get as close to both sides of the street as possible. Although the bison didn't understand why Su Bai asked it to do that, it still obediently obeyed the command. The snipers in the distance are now ready, and once the bison reaches their expected shooting location, they can guarantee a hit. But when the bison appeared in their sight, they froze. This Su Bai, who was originally sitting straight, lay on the back of the cow, and her legs tightly clamped onto the side of her heart. Not only that, the bison seemed to be crazy, spinning and jumping, but also turning in spiral running. What? This cat is really bullying people. Why aren't you shooting yet? Jiang Lin's gaze couldn't see the street clearly, but she also knew that the bison had entered its designated location. The sniper twitched the corner of his mouth and hesitated to speak. No. I can't shoot anymore. This cow is spiraling and running. Jiang Lin. What the hell? Net friend, what kind of thing? How did you start spinning, jumping, and spiraling? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Police call me. Can't it be fraud, right? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Police call me. Can't it be fraud, right? Spinning and jumping, I close my eyes and can't see the hustle and bustle. Are you drunk? Su Bai hugged the bison while singing loudly. Anchor, my own person, don't speak up. The sound of magic is in my ears, I'm almost going crazy. Brothers, I've turned off the sound. Remember to remind me when the anchor stops. Devil, after listening to the songs sung by the anchor, the sins I created in the first half of my life have been completely erased. This is no longer a difficult or unpleasant question, it is already considered harassment. In the maze walk of the bison, Su Bai had already passed through this street when he regained his senses. After confirming that she had already left the sniper's sight, Su Bai spoke up and said, "Brothers, are you curious why you were lying down just now holding a cow?" This question confused the audience in the live broadcast room. Isn't this just a crazy run with cow hair? It has to be said that this is really an extraordinary person who could even ask such a question. What I care more about than this is how the anchor is doing now. If you don't hold the cow, won't you be thrown out? Due to the perspective, what the audience in the live broadcast room can see is Su Bai holding a cow and spinning and jumping along with it. Moreover, this cow has run wildly. If you don't hold on to it, you'll just be thrown out. No, no, no. Su Bai shook his head and continued, you didn't see a sniper on the street just now. These cold and ruthless snipers actually want to kill cows. For the sake of merit, I can only protect cows with my own body. Audience. They didn't expect that Su Bai would say such outrageous things. Anchor, are you really here to release the bison? Is it true or false? Isn't this the anchor's nonsense? It must be true, it's all on our Hohai City news. Cowherd, someone really did such an outrageous thing. A few of the viewers in the live broadcast room happened to be from Hohai City. After coming out to confirm that Su Bai's words were true, everyone's minds couldn't turn around. After all, I have seen someone who prepares scripts for program effects these years, but I have never seen someone who brings themselves to the news through a live broadcast. And even more outrageous is that this person actually used his body to block the sniper. Who is protecting who on earth? As Su Bai rode his cattle wildly in the city, he also made it to the local news. At this moment, Quan Shishue, who was still in shock, was sitting in the rest area prepared by the police to rest. Su Bai. How is it now? Quan Shishue remembered the figure standing in front of her. If it weren't for Su Bai standing in front of her, she would have never really regained her senses and climbed to a high place next to her. Thinking of this, Quan Shishue trembled and took out her phone, opening the news of Hohai City. As soon as she opened it, what caught her eye was the scene of Su Bai spinning and jumping on a bison. Just looking at this scene, she couldn't help but sweat in her palms and her body trembled slightly subconsciously. Su Bai took such a big risk to stand in front of me because of me, right? Quan Shishue stared blankly at her phone. This is a bison. If it weren't for Su Bai, the consequences could be unimaginable at this moment. She remembered all that had happened before. Su Bai, who had lowered her head in front of everyone and confessed to her, now protected her like a giant. It seems that Su Bai is different from what I thought, and it's not that bad either. As for learning how to bark like a cow at that time, it was also to attract the cow's attention. When she thought of this, she became even more worried, and now Su Bai has not yet gotten out of trouble. In case something happens thinking of this, she quickly continued to read the latest news broadcast. In Shunlong Street, Jiang Lin anxiously commanded and mobilized with a walkie-talkie. Based on her previous judgment, the bison should be able to capture it on this street. So we didn't continue to block too many areas behind us. So when the bison rushed over, they could only quickly rearrange personnel for control. Damn it. After putting down the walkie-talkie, Jiang Lin couldn't help but clench her fist and curse inwardly. Although it was the most suitable location for sniping just now, at that time, Su Bai actually lay on the back of the cow. And the cow is still constantly moving towards both sides of the street, making sudden turns and other movements. Deputy Bureau. You. Take a look at your phone, I sent you a document. Just as Jiang Lin was blaming herself, the voice of the command room echoed through the intercom. At this critical moment, it's important to manage the information and save people. Jiang Linhua suddenly came up. Surprisingly, at this critical moment, she couldn't distinguish the importance and urgency of someone else. If she hadn't arrived at the scene now, she would probably have opened the batch directly. Deputy Bureau. This is the information about the person named Su Bai. You should take a look. Information about Su Bai. Jiang Lin was taken aback and instinctively opened her phone. However, when she clicked on the link and saw the content inside, her anger instantly soared into the sky. This is clearly what Su Bai said earlier. Okay. We went to great lengths to save you, so just play like that, right? Jiang Lin's voice seemed to squeeze out from between her teeth, and her beautiful face became extremely twisted at this moment. Picture of 9 transformations of fat intestines. She felt something was wrong just now, and now she finally understands that this kid was intentional. He's crazy. What merit? This is really not worth it, right? Transfer his phone number to me and I'll have him cooperate with our actions. Blaming is blaming. As a police officer, she definitely can't argue with a mental illness, and the fate of a mental illness is also fate. Moo. Brother Nyo, go this way. Su Bai pointed the way over and over again, still chatting with the audience in the live broadcast room. At this moment, a phone suddenly popped up in the taskbar, and the number on it was clearly 110. Done, brothers, call me at 110. Isn't this a scam? Su Bai stared at her phone with a frightened expression and shouted. Ah! Anchor, whose fraudulent phone number would be 110. This must be the police calling you, hurry up and answer the phone. No, I'm not that big. It's the first time I've seen someone call this phone number a scam. If the scammer could really use 110 to call me, I would admit it. When asked this question, the audience couldn't help but be taken aback. But I quickly realized what was going on. This anchor's brain circuit is indeed lacking in backbone. Even a normal person wouldn't ask this question. However, it's also true that no normal person would ride a bison and say they want to be released. Forget it, let's take the phone and pray for me not to be scammed out of the 642.5 yuan in my bank card. After speaking, Su Bai turned a blind eye and directly pressed the answer button. As soon as she answered the phone, Su Bai quickly said, "Hello, I don't buy insurance or take out a loan. Of course, if it's male fruit, we can discuss it." Audience. Jiang Lin. No, what were you saying when I just answered the phone? After forcibly suppressing her anger, Jiang Lin suppressed her anger and said in a hurried tone, "We are police officers. Don't block our line of sight. We need to shoot that mad cow to ensure your safety." Just as Jiang Lin finished speaking, she heard the beep of hanging up on the other end of the phone. At this moment, Su Bai looked surprised as she took her phone away, hung up the call, and then looked at the camera seriously, saying, "Brothers, I did indeed receive a scam call earlier. This person is really too cunning. If it weren't for my wit and bravery, then I would have been deceived. The reason why I can conclude is that I am now preparing to accumulate merits and release Bison. How could such a good thing not be done for me? It must be a scam." As soon as these words were spoken, the audience in the live broadcast room laughed wildly. This is really a talented person, probably the police are all confused. Why don't we let him live and die on his own? No one can stop him now. Genius on the left, madman on the right, truly not deceiving me. After all, no one expected Su Bai to say such outrageous things. With the explosion of live streaming effects, the popularity has also skyrocketed. Congratulations to the host's live streaming room for reaching a popularity of 3,000. When she heard this voice, Su Bai couldn't help but be delighted. As long as the release is successful, then the mission is completed. Mu, brother Nyo, go over there. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Are you driving? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Are you driving? On the street, a person is riding a large bison and speeding along the way. Dee dee. What are you guys doing in front of him, Grandma? A driver with road rage syndrome looked at the vehicles that had not moved forward and leaned out to curse loudly. Just as he cursed a few words, he saw a wild cow rushing towards him in the crevice of the vehicle, and there was also a person riding on it. As he was about to charge towards him, he suddenly withdrew his head. What was that just now? How could there be a bison like this? It can be said that the place where Su Bai rode a bison caused countless disturbances. This scene attracted countless people to take photos as a memento. A young man who had just left the town and arrived in Hohai City widened his eyes when he saw this behind the scenes. Is this Hohai City? Grandma didn't lie to me. Sure enough, you can see everything in the city. Even many children were scared to tears when they saw it. No normal person has ever seen such a scene. Oh my goodness, this anchor is too fierce. The anchors have been riding bison for 40 minutes, yet they are incredibly calm. Just looking at it is so scary, the anchor hasn't been scared to cry yet. What kind of big heart is this? Just looking at it makes me tremble with fear. I thought Su Bai would be thrown out or saved in just over 10 minutes. But no one expected that after 40 minutes, Su Bai was still unharmed. Even riding a bison with extra composure, he said he was going to release it. Su Bai's phone approached and passionately shouted, "Ladies and gentlemen, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to accumulate merits. Give me a reward and let me go." The next second, gifts were showcased again in the live broadcast room. I'll go, there really are big shots brushing gifts. This kind of scene is rare, what's wrong with giving a little reward? Amit Ba Buddha, my merit money has already been swiped in. I'm afraid the anchor might stop, you guys. Despite watching it for so long, the audience is still amazed. Jiang Lin is holding her phone and watching the live broadcast at this moment. Looking at the content inside, Jiang Lin felt like her lungs were about to explode. She has been in the industry for several years, and it is the first time she has encountered such a strange person. Others tried hard to save him, but he was still there shouting the gift of the old iron brush. Forget it, this kid really wants to let go and accumulate merits. He's crazy. This kid really has mental illness, right? When I catch you, I'll send you to a mental hospital as soon as possible. Jiang Lin murmured, gritting her teeth. The more I watch this, the more my teeth itch with anger. Just from the live broadcast footage, it can be seen that this matter is bound to cause a sensation. At that time, she didn't even know how to report to the leader above. And Su Bai had no idea that someone hated him so deeply that he didn't care even if he knew. After noticing the route ahead, Su Bai quickly shouted, "Brother Nyo, turn left ahead." The audience in the live broadcast almost didn't burst out laughing when they heard this. Laughing to death, the anchor was stunned and even talked to the cow. I've become accustomed to it, the anchor is already a typical bumpkin. I really thought releasing animals could communicate with cows. If it really works, I'll just let them go. Wait, you guys, look. Just when everyone roused that they were very happy, they suddenly saw that the cow actually turned left when it came to the intersection. Audience. Jiang Lin over there. All police officers. Ah. What situation is this? So outrageous. The current bison has undergone the ultimate evolution of ancient beasts. How did this happen? Am I crazy or is this world crazy? I knew this world was fake, otherwise how could anyone possibly communicate with a bison? At this moment, many viewers were shocked and their views were shattered. Even the police officers watching the live broadcast cracked open. Indeed, there are many domesticated cows that can understand human language, but these are bison. It's like one day an alien came from the sky and their family was able to communicate fluently, which is outrageous. What they didn't notice was that Su Bai just pointed the direction to the bison with his left hand. Jiang Lin rubbed her eyeballs and shook her head in disbelief. What's the situation? After a moment, she suddenly snapped back to her senses. No, I was so distracted by a lunatic that I thought he could communicate with a bison. With this in mind, Jiang Lin took out her walkie-talkie from her waist and said, "Are there any colleagues who specialize in psychology on site? Come over to my place immediately." She has already figured it out. In order to solve this matter, she must figure out what the mental illness is really thinking. Only in this way can we start from the lesion, and the best way to deal with mental illness is through psychological experts. In no time, the police, who focused on psychological aspects, came to Jiang Lin. What do you think of Su Bai's situation? Jiang Lin came straight to the point. After pondering for a moment, the psychologist spoke up and said, based on his age and behavior, this should be due to a mental stimulation, so he placed hope on release, which is why it is abnormal. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Lin couldn't help but nod inwardly. In fact, this mentality was similar to avoiding reality, but it wasn't that serious. After seeing Jiang Lin nod, the psychologist continued, moreover, based on my analysis, patients will definitely forget some basic common sense, so they just hung up during phone communication. Not bad, that's how I analyzed it just now. I have to say, and upon hearing this, Jiang Lin agreed with the psychologist's words. So now we just need to use some lame lies, maybe we can trick him into cooperating with our work. The psychologist concluded. Just as Jiang Lin was about to make a decision to agree, she suddenly noticed the live broadcast footage on her nearby phone. In the picture, Su Bai seemed to have discovered something, lying on top of the cow while constantly pulling something out of her pants pocket with her left hand. After a while, Su Bai's eyes lit up and he took out 5 yuan directly from inside. After switching my phone to my left hand, I happened to pass by a roadside stall selling steamed buns. Boss, you don't need to change. Su Bai roared and threw out the 5 yuan in her hand, grabbing 2 meat buns from the cage. This set of actions runs smoothly and seamlessly, and it can be seen from the time you pay that Su Bai has already planned to make 2 steamed buns to eat. It's really outrageous. Did I get dizzy just now? How did I see the anchor riding a cow and buying 2 steamed buns? What top-notch outrageous operation, this is simply too showy. The coach teaches me, I also want to learn. Learn fart, I don't even know how to do it myself. Netizens exclaimed repeatedly about this scene. Who would have thought that Su Bai could buy steamed buns and gnaw on them while riding a cow? This is really outrageous. Watching this scene, Jiang Lin twitched her lips and her expression became incredibly strange. Is this called losing common sense? A good person who loses common sense will still buy things and give money. And they will also give tips. She is now questioning whether Su Bai is simply lacking in heart and mind. DDD. Report. Currently, the other party is about to enter the suburbs. According to observations, there are a large number of forests and swamps in the area. At this moment, a hurried report came from the walkie-talkie. Entering the suburbs. Upon hearing this, Jiang Lin was instantly anxious. The reason why they are still able to catch Su Bai's trace is because there are cameras. Once you enter the suburbs, there is no way to determine the location of Su Bai. Hurry up and find a way to track it. Jiang Lin could only grit her teeth and shout into the walkie-talkie. Although Jiang Lin watched the live broadcast all along, she eventually lost it without any specific reference. Outside the suburbs. Moo. Stop. After learning how to bray, Su Bai continued, break. The anchor finally realized he was scared and shouted, break. I guess I was scared crazy. It's really a cow, you should shout out. It was all a coincidence before, did the anchor really believe it? If this can stop, I'll do it on the spot. But the next second, an incredible scene happened. I saw the bison actually stop. Audience. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Task completed. New mission, Giant Panda. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Task completed. New mission, Giant Panda. Am I still sleeping now? This scene is 2sci.fi, isn't it? I can't figure out how the anchor managed to do it. Can it be that the release of animals really connect with their souls? Upstairs, I suspect you have been brainwashed by the anchor. But this is not entirely right, it's more obedient than my dog. Wildlife has always been seen as particularly dangerous in everyone's eyes. But when we arrived at Su Bai's place, we were able to be so obedient. Su Bai flipped over and jumped directly off the buffalo. Moo. You can leave by walking straight ahead. Let's go, you can go home now. After speaking, Su Bai didn't forget to pat the buffalo's head. The bison shook its head and, after responding, walked unsteadily towards the forest ahead. Watching the bison so human, the audience in the live broadcast room was shocked and speechless. What kind of abstract live streaming is this? Ladies and gentlemen, our daily good deeds have been completed today. We hope that in the future, everyone can do more good deeds like me. See you next time we live stream. After Su Bai finished speaking, he immediately closed the live broadcast room. Congratulations to the host for completing the task, reward skills, human language translation and animal language skills. Reward 1000 points of merit, not bad, this not only rewards one skill, but also gives 1000 merits. It's not far from my second brother becoming an iron-headed child. Su Bai clenched her fist and secretly cheered herself on. By the way, system, what's my next task? Su Bai suddenly remembered this. Randomly extracting tasks. Task extraction successful. The next task of the host is to release giant pandas. When the last 3 words reached Su Bai's ears, the originally moving footsteps suddenly came to her ears. Su Bai spoke with a fierce expression and asked, "What?" The host's task is to release giant pandas. At this moment, the system prompted again. "What?" Okay, then let's play. Not to mention anything else, the location of this mission alone is not right. He can't possibly run into the zoo to steal one and release it. If he really dares to do that, he probably won't have to be taken by the police to sing Iron Window Tears the next day. With his appearance, even a daisy can turn into a sunflower. Are you sure this is not intentional pranks on me? Su Bai asked, gritting her teeth and twitching the corners of her mouth. But this time the system never made any sound again. This task is getting more and more outrageous each time. In comparison, releasing mineral water is really a beginner task. After all, who would think of a way to release giant pandas? This is absolutely impossible to do unless one is bored and crooked. This is Ho-Hai, not even a habitat for giant pandas. Where are you looking for such a special place? Su Bai sighed, her originally joyful mood swept away at this moment. Forget it, let's take a closer look. He sighed and walked with heavy steps towards the way he came. As he walked, he didn't forget to take out his phone. Just as I opened my phone, what caught my eye was the scene of live streaming being turned off. At this moment, Su Bai's Yuguang noticed the current withdrawal limit for live streaming. This is really 5,000 yuan. Seeing this gift, his eyes lit up instantly. Plus the 197.5 for live streaming mineral water, it's already 52. Moreover, the platform has deducted half of the cost, which means that the profit from this live broadcast is close to 10,000 yuan. Looking at these money, Su Bai suddenly felt a great mood. One day's income can catch up with his living expenses for almost 6 months. But as soon as he stepped out of the forest with his front foot, his back foot froze in place. More than 20 police cars were parked on the road just before the meeting, and there was also a group of police officers with solemn expressions, holding guns and waiting in his direction. Junyi. Don't shoot, I am a good citizen. Su Bai quickly raised his hand. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of the police present all became extremely strange. Who would call a good person a police officer? Su Bai felt something was wrong when she saw their eyes. Is it because I raised my hand incorrectly? He remembers that at this time, he should just lie on the ground and hold the back of his head. Just as he was thinking about changing her posture, he saw a handsome female police officer approaching him. Where's that crazy cow? Jiang Lin gritted her teeth and said. This kid made them lose face in front of so many people today. With so many police officers, she couldn't even deal with a mad cow. Just thinking about this made her teeth itch with anger. Why do you say it's a mad cow? What evidence do you have? Su Bai retorted without hesitation. Jiang Lin frowned slightly and spoke lightly, hurt me. Upon hearing these 2 words, Su Bai suddenly remembered this matter. Hurting someone. Who was hurt? Why didn't I see it, and even if it was, who was hurt? The Bison had told him before that it only rushed out after injuring a person. And there are many cow carcasses in that place. From this point of view, it should be an organization specialized in poaching wild animals. After all, there is a big difference between bison and domesticated cattle, and it is impossible to distinguish them. This kind of thing has actually been common all along. Rich people, in order to showcase their uniqueness, will specifically eat wild animals. So Su Bai was so angry when she said these words. At this moment, Jiang Lin suddenly realized that the injured person in this accident had never accurately stated where they were hit by a cow. And when he was sent to the hospital, there were blood stains on the person's body. With just a slight association, she vaguely sensed that this matter was different from what she had imagined. After all, it is impossible for Bison to appear out of thin air in the city. Moreover, there have been rumors circulating recently that there are people selling wild animals and ingredients in Hohai City. Xiao Li. Jiang Lin turned her head and called out a police officer, frowning and saying, "Go investigate where this bison appeared, and have her colleagues in the hospital ask the injured guy what's going on with this bison. If it's really as expected, maybe this time we can accidentally solve a big case." In operation, a response was received in less than 20 minutes. Deputy Bureau, it has been investigated and confirmed that this is indeed a poaching organization, and this bison was brought back for slaughter because a customer wanted it fresh. After the news came back, the police present were all shocked and couldn't help but look at Su Bai. They never expected that this seemingly mentally abnormal guy would even help them solve a case. "Can I leave now?" Su Bai looked around at the police and said cautiously. But at this moment, Jiang Lin in front of her shook her head without hesitation. "No, come here and come with us." Su Bai. Isn't this already explained clearly? Seeking support. End of this chapter. Is there really a giant panda in chapter 10? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is there really a giant panda in chapter 10? In the office area of the police station, Jiang Lin solemnly took notes for Su Bai. After briefly recording the name and gender of Su Bai, Jiang Lin finally got to the point. "What do you mean by releasing merit in your live broadcast?" Upon hearing these words, Su Bai immediately straightened her chest and spoke proudly, "It's all about accumulating merits. Let me tell you, everything in this world has life. When you see wild animals and the like, you must release them back into nature." Stop. Jiang Lin's pent-up anger slowly rose as she listened to Su Bai Balabla's explanation of the benefits of merit. "Speak up. Why did you deliberately use your body to block the sniper's attack?" Jiang Lin hugged her chest with both hands, and the mountain peak appeared particularly towering. Su Bai spoke awkwardly, "I didn't know there was a sniper." "Don't you know there's a sniper?" Jiang Lin chuckled angrily. "If I don't know how to say this during the live broadcast, there's even evidence." When she was watching the replay, she almost didn't get angry enough to have a myocardial infarction. "Yeah." Su Bai nodded stiffly. "Okay. I got it." But in the end, Jiang Lin gritted her teeth and nodded, skipping the topic. Because even if Su Bai admitted to blocking the sniper's shooting, she could not convict Su Bai. After all, the situation at that time was uncontrollable, and Su Bai could easily argue that she was too nervous or something like that. Also, Su Bai helped them solve a large-scale poaching case and captured a poaching gang. Just this point alone, she cannot continue to hold Su Bai accountable. The reason why I'm here is that I can't stand the appearance of Su Bai. After a simple recording, Jiang Lin directly asked Su Bai to leave the police station. What a tiring day. Su Bai moved her shoulders before returning to school. As soon as Su Bai pushed open the dormitory door, she saw a huge meatball rushing towards her. "Take a closer look, isn't this the fat guy Wang Sunday? How are you, kid? Are you okay?" Wang Sun grabbed Su Bai's shoulder and looked up and down, his eyes full of surprise. At this moment, the other two roommates also leaned over. "What can I do?" Su Bai looked at Wang Sundong with a puzzled expression, feeling and taking a closer look. If it weren't for knowing that Wang Sun likes teacher Budwa, he would suspect that this guy is not the same. "I saw it all in the TV news, you rode a cow across the entire Hohai," Wang Sun said with a sigh after checking. Although the world is full of wonders, it is completely different if this person is their roommate. "Yeah, your kid is really awesome plus. Tell me quickly, what does it feel like to be a Buffalo Knight?" The other two roommates couldn't help but speak up. If they were to do this once, they would be able to pretend for a lifetime and buy a newspaper to collect. "Ha!" Su Bai yawned and waved his hand nonchalantly, "So that's what you're talking about. Jitsao, don't 6. After chatting with her roommates about today's process, Subai took a shower and lay in bed. Just as he was scrolling through his phone, a message suddenly popped up. The world's #1 goddess, Quan Shishue. Are you okay? Have you returned to the dormitory now? Thanks to you leading me away today, otherwise I might have. Seeing this news, Subai's eyes couldn't help but twitch. The original owner of this body really licked, and surprisingly noted this. If it weren't for Quan Shishue sending a message, he would have forgotten to change this note back. After changing the note back, Subai did not reply to the message, but continued to play with her phone. But within a few minutes, the information popped up again. Quan Shishue. The boy I'm with today is just an ordinary classmate. Don't think too much. Seeing this message, Subai couldn't read it back directly. After all, whoever loves to be this licking dog is not going to be this big hater. Women will only affect the speed at which they draw their swords. Moreover, the memories left by the original owner of this body are too humble. Just looking back makes him feel a chill. Thinking of this, he quickly shook his head and threw these things out of his mind. I should think about how to do the task now. Subai thought to herself. After pondering for a long time, Subai couldn't think of a good solution. What always comes to mind is stealing one from the zoo. System, can we replace this giant panda mission? It's a bit outrageous. Subai couldn't help but ask the system. If he could change the task, he wouldn't have such a headache. But the system remained motionless, and if he hadn't seen the current merit, he would have doubted whether the system had disappeared. It seems that the road ahead is long and arduous to become a god in physical form. Subai sighed helplessly. While thinking, Subai opened her phone's live streaming account. As soon as I opened it, I happened to see the hot search. A mentally ill man from Hohai is riding a cow and running wildly on the road. Is this a distortion of human nature or a decline in morality? Who is the man riding a bull? In broad daylight, a certain man actually rode a cow in public. Subai. What's going on here? And even though these characters are from the Xia dynasty, they can't be understood when connected together. And this is a hot search, which means he became famous in one battle. Thinking of this, he quickly clicked on one of the hot searches. I saw him riding a bull and running wildly inside, with over 5 million reposts on it. The following comments are even more densely packed. I'll go, the number of reposters here is hundreds of times more than the number of people in my live broadcast room. He was all shocked. If so many people watched his live broadcast, wouldn't he make a fortune? The popularity is so high, I don't know if I will become an internet celebrity. Subai couldn't help but feel a little surprised in her heart. The best way for ordinary people to make a comeback these days is to become internet celebrities. Little do they know how many people have changed their destiny through live streaming. For example, the children from the mountainous areas who have broken through their families with both feet are now driving Parameras. Forget it, let's not think recklessly. Go brush your teeth and sleep. Subai shook her head and walked towards the balcony. Just as he walked to the balcony, he noticed in his spare time a black and white figure climbing a tree outside. I really want to go crazy doing tasks. How could there be giant pandas in such a place? Subai shook her head and looked again. I saw a chubby figure struggling to climb a tree. Looking at this scene, the people of Subai are all confused. He didn't care about anything else and rushed downstairs in his slippers. Looking up, wasn't that exactly a giant panda? Ding! A suitable live streaming environment has been detected. Task begins, requires live streaming with 30,000 popularity. Subai. End of this chapter.